The Cowboys mandatory minicamp is over. We are California dreaming on this edition of the Blitz. And we're still having to just dream about California right now, but we know plans are being made, and we are now, 5.5 weeks away from the start of training camp 2021. Bill Jones along with Kyle Youmans, and welcome to the Blitz. We got a big half hour ahead for you as we take a look back at what transpired here at the Star in Frisco at minicamp this past week, and also look ahead. It'll be here before you know it, and after the year we had last year, everyone can't wait for the training camp 2021.
No doubt about it. And last year we had to wait this amount of time to get to training camp and finally see what the Dallas Cowboys were going to look like. That's not the case this year. We've already got a little sneak preview of what maybe the 2021 team will become.
And the sneak preview of the quarterback. Of course, he's already put to bed. He buried the ankle injury that he had last October this past week as he was talking to the media. We got an opportunity to see him on the practice field. The numbers that he put up in the first 5 games before he was hurt last year, they were at the top of the charts as far as the league is concerned. Kyle, can he, after viewing him out there on the practice field the last couple of weeks, you think he's back to that level?
So it's hard to tell right now because there hasn't been any pads, there hasn't been any contact, and he also hasn't been a part of the 11-on-11 drills. Most of his stuff has come in individual drills and 7-on-7 potentially throughout OTAs and minicamp. We'll see what his activities are whenever training camp does roll around, but what we've seen so far, he does look like he's getting back to that 100%. The ankle has no real worries around it. Anybody you talk to, whether it's offensive linemen, whether it's coaching staff, or even Dak himself talking about it, there is no worry about him getting back to that. And you mentioned the numbers. I mean, he had the highest yards per game average in NFL history through 5 games, and that was over 370 yards per game through the air. He has those weapons returning. You talk about the wide receivers, hopefully a healthy offensive line. If all those things being considered kind of fall back into place, there's no reason I don't think Dak Prescott could return to form.
And we've seen a steady progression in his career. And when you look at now another year, Kellen Moore's offense here, what kind of expectations do you think we should have for this offense, assuming everybody is healthy?
Well, if everybody's healthy, this should be a top 5 offense in the NFL. You look at the investments that have been made on that side of the ball, even specifically in this offseason. Dak Prescott, $160 million. Ezekiel Elliott with $90 million. Amari Cooper's $1 million or $100 million. You're close to $400 million spent just on your skills players alone. That does not take into account the offensive line, and I think that just shows just how much the Cowboys do, 1, trust the players, and 2, trust Kellen Moore. And I think his creativity is going to have to see a bit of an uptick. His red zone efficiency certainly has to get better, and hopefully the offensive line and then, of course, a veteran Dak Prescott back there as well should help out in both of those aspects. But that's exactly what the eyes are going to be on, is Kellen Moore and his success.
And we'll talk about the Dallas defense as we go along here on this show, but how much do you think the offense carries this team?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the defense last year, we saw just how poor they were, a bottom-tier defense in the NFL. They're not going to have an immediate jump. You're going to see an improvement, I think, from Dan Quinn defensively, but they're not going to be a top 10 defense. They're going to try and be middle of the road so that way this offense can really carry the torch.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Blitz. We got plenty to get to. We're talking offense, we're talking defense, but up next, David Hellman is going to join us, and we're going to talk edge rushers, a very important position on this Dallas defense this year.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz is brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Tour AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys. Tours are available daily. For details, visit attstadium.com/tours. This segment is brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
And welcome back to the Blitz, your Dallas Cowboys report. Bill Jones now joined by Dave Hellman of DallasCowboys.com as we turn our attention to the Dallas defense. And David, how about specifically we take a look at that defensive end position for this team? Some edge rushers. It was a question mark. It's always been a question mark. For all NFL teams, it's a question mark. You don't have enough defensive ends. You don't have enough edge rushers. How about this team? Let's start with D-Law.
You know, it's funny because defense, every position on this defense is a need, right? Like we saw this team play defense last year that I don't think you feel great about anything. But defensive end, at least on the top half of the depth chart, you probably feel the best about it. That is your best defensive player. Demarcus Lawrence, say what you will about him. He gets a lot of criticism for not generating sacks, generates pressure. Top 10 in the league in pass rush win rate, widely considered one of the 10, 12 best edge rushers in the league. The problem is, how much help does he have? We haven't seen him generate those sack totals in the last couple years. I think part of that is the supporting cast around him. It'll be interesting to see if they've upgraded the talent working with him to help him out a little bit.
All right, well, let's switch over to right defensive end, number 94, Randy Gregory then, because there was a lot of frustration from Cowboys fans last year that we weren't seeing enough Randy Gregory on the field.
Well, it sounds like that frustration was coming from Randy as well. If you had a chance to listen to him at minicamp and OTAs, he was very honest. He said, trust me, we had conversations that I wanted to have a bigger role last year. Obviously, coming back from suspension, I think the Cowboys wanted to ease him in. But it certainly seemed like he caught on in the second half of the season, finished with 3.5 sacks. The interesting thing for me, the exciting thing, this is the first time since Randy was a rookie that he has been part of the offseason program, if you can believe that. That was all the way back in 2015. It certainly seems like he's on the straight and narrow. He said this past week that, you know, that's behind me. I want to build trust and not have to talk about my rocky past anymore. And if they can get the guy that they drafted, I mean, we've seen the talent over the years, right? The problem is he's only played in 38 of 100 possible games. Obviously, he's missed a lot of time. But if he can keep that momentum going from the second half of last season, this is as good as I've felt about a guy partnering with Demarcus Lawrence in a long, long time.
Of course, to get the most out of Randy Gregory and Demarcus Lawrence, you got to have a rotation. What about the depth at defensive end?
See, that's the problem. Like, I mean, Demarcus and Randy, like I said, that's about as good of a pair as I can think of. Behind them, a lot of unknowns, wherever you want to go. Terrell Basham, probably the most noteworthy pass rusher signed in free agency. He was a third-round draft pick back in 2017, but we're not talking about a guy that's produced a lot. He bounced to the New York Jets from the Indianapolis Colts, hasn't generated a ton of sacks in his career. Our very own Doris Armstrong, a Cowboys draft pick, 2.5 sacks over the last couple years. He's not a sack generator or hasn't been to this point in his career. A lot of people are high on Bradley and Nye. He was a guy who slipped in the draft last year, but he played 8 defensive snaps in 2020. We just haven't seen it. Throw Chauncey Golston in there as well, a rookie, a guy that we have not seen. Cowboys clearly liked him. They drafted him in the 3rd round, but he hasn't played NFL football as of yet. So you tell me where the proven production is coming from in that group. It's not a lot of experience.
Do I have to tell you right now?
I mean, you can wait because
I'm going to wait until
I think that's the only answer, honestly, is to wait and see what they do.
That's why another reason why training camp is going to be very interesting. Dave Hellman, we appreciate it. And up next here on the Blitz, let's go back to the offensive side of the football as Danny Sarek joins us, and let's talk big offensive tackle Lyell Collins when we come back.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Blitz continues now. Bill Jones with Kyle Youmans as we welcome in Danny Sarek to talk about a guy who is coming back from injury, and this is a big guy coming back from injury, right, Danny?
That's right, Bill. Right tackle Lyell Collins, and he's not the only offensive starter coming back from injury, so there's been a lot of smiles around the offensive side of the ball at practices the last few weeks here at the Star. Collins missed the entire 2020 season with a hip injury, something that he says was nagging him all last offseason, preventing him from working out and practicing the way he really wanted to. After starting the season on the injured reserve list, Collins had surgery in October. Collins was coming off a fantastic 2019 season where he finished as the 5th highest ranked offensive tackle and the 3rd best run blocker according to Pro Football Focus. Collins says it was tough watching the offensive line struggle with injuries and multiple line combinations last season. Now, says he's feeling good and he's ready to rock.
It was tough to watch that, especially just having so many young guys in there and sitting at home watching it for me. You know, it was tough. Just not being able to be out there with my team. You see somebody rough up your quarterback and me not being able to step in. Anytime your team take the field and as a true competitor and you're not out there, you know, that's always tough. But it just gave me a lot of motivation and just everything that I need to keep moving forward. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to it.
Collins participated in OTAs and minicamp in a limited fashion against defenders, similar to left tackle Tyron Smith, who's coming off a neck injury, which kept him out for most of last season. Offensive coordinator Kellen Moore says it's been great to see both starting tackles out on the field again and to be on track to be ready to go by training camp.
As they're a big part of this team, they've been that way for a long time. They're really talented players, and obviously, you know, they look like they're in really special shape right now, ready to go play some football. So we're all really excited.
Collins has been rehabbing the same time quarterback Dak Prescott has been recovering from a season-ending right ankle injury. Collins says it's been remarkable watching the progress Prescott has made and the type of impact he has as a leader on the field amidst his return.
Man, it gives me chills to think about it. He don't complain, you know, even if things bother him, he just finds a way to keep going and keep pushing through. And, you know, that goes a long way with guys, especially, you know, it's been days where we be out there and it's like, man, you know, it's a tough day, but, you know, he keeps going and, you know, it makes everybody else want to keep going, especially me. And, you know, when I see that guy, you know, that's who I do it for. I do it for that guy. You know, that's my locker mate, and you know, I protect him at all costs.
One change, in addition to just seeing Collins on the field this year, is that he's slimmed down a bit. He says he was playing around 323 pounds last year, and since then he's dropped 10 pounds, hoping to fluctuate between 309 and 315 this year. One thing is for certain, Collins did not lose that weight through intermittent fasting. He laughed pretty hard at that media question and made sure that everyone knew that he does not miss a meal. Bill, Collins has looked strong, lean, and agile throughout OTAs and minicamp and has received compliments from multiple teammates and coaches that this is the best he's ever looked.
Well, and that is a product of spending so much time here in the offseason here at the Star in Frisco getting ready. But how big is it? You got Lyle Collins coming back, missed 16 games last year, and Tyron Smith missed 14 games last year.
Well, it's huge, and he even alluded to it, talking about how watching Dak Prescott go down in Week 5 last year was ingrained in his mind. And you have to think, even though it was ingrained in the minds of the fans, even more so for these offensive linemen, having a guy like Tyron Smith, a veteran on the left side, then Lyell Collins, who's one of the up-and-coming NFL offensive tackles. He was rated in a top 5, like Danny said earlier, in terms of Pro Football Focus. In his rankings in 2019, he is a fantastic player. Having both those guys back will help out the entire offense.
Yeah, okay, so how about backups? Knock on wood that no one gets hurt as far as the starters go, but how are they set?
They're better fitted to maybe go through a season like they did a year ago. You think about even the guys who got snaps last year, like a Brandon Knight, like a Terrence Steele, each had over 750 snaps a year ago. Even Connor McGovern in the interior, if there were something to happen to either Connor Williams, Tyler Biadasz, even Zach Martin, he had 600 snaps a season ago. Then you bring in a veteran like Ty Nsekhe, who was an 80-plus graded player on Pro Football Focus a year ago in terms of run defense. So there's plenty more guys to deal with that if it does end up happening.
Well, and hopefully they all stay healthy, ready to go when the Cowboys go to Tampa to take on the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers in less than 3 months now. When we come back here on the Blitz, how about that defensive front seven, and specifically the sophomore year for Neville Gallimore? The Blitz continues now. Bill Jones with Kyle Youmans here at the Star in Frisco. We turn our attention now to, oh heaven forbid, the run defense for the Cowboys in 2020. And we heard earlier in the show, Dak Prescott wants to bury all the talk about his ankle surgery, the ankle injury he had in October. How about we bury the numbers from the run defense from last year? We could bury it along with Jalen Smith's number 54 jersey from last year. Of course, he now sports the number 9, but those are numbers the Cowboys do not plan to duplicate in 2021.
Not at all. Bottom 2 in run defense last year in the NFL, 20 rushing touchdowns. I think overall the defense would love to put that in the rearview mirror for a multitude of reasons, but the front office office has put a really big emphasis, I think, on upgrading the defensive line, the defensive front seven, just to try and maybe turn away some of those opponents from trying to dominate as much as they did on the ground.
And let's take a look at some of the things that the Cowboys did, specifically with that defensive line. It was something they addressed not only in the draft, but also in free agency.
Absolutely. I'll start with the draft to get things underway. And you even look back to last year, like Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma, a third-round pick who was known for a sideline-to-sideline ability. He eats up multiple gaps in the interior, and he was really good in his run defense for the Sooners. Then you have picks this year like Chauncey Golston out of Iowa, Osa Odigizua out of UCLA, who have that length, that speed, that can take up multiple blocks from opposing offensive linemen. And then you've got the big trash can full of dirt, and that's Quentin Bohanna right in the middle. He played at 360 during his time in Kentucky, ultimately just takes up a ton of room, and you can really see how this front office is trying to build the run defense and build that front seven, and it starts with the defensive line through the draft. But then also Brent Urban comes in as an inside-outside guy. He could play the edge, he could play interior. He did both during his time with the Chicago Bears, and in last year's run defense for Chicago, he was rated above an 85 on Pro Football Focus, a known run defender coming in to try and help this run.
And they are defensive linemen, the free agents they picked up that have experience in 3-4 defenses in this league, freeing up linebackers to make plays, and the Cowboys, as you know, now have a bevy of linebackers, right?
Yes, they do. It's a really crowded room for the first time in quite some time, I think, in the linebacker room, and there was a revolving door at that position a year ago whenever Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith saw some time on the bench. Now, instead of having the backups as guys like Justin March or Joe Thomas, it's Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, who are arguably good enough to be the starters at the linebacker spot. So I think whenever the run defense is concerned, it's LVE that leads the charge in that regard. In 2018, he had an 82 grade on Pro Football Focus compared to just 51 in 2020. Now, he hasn't been as good in the run defense since he's had the injury issues with the neck, with the knee. There are a couple things that Leighton Vander Esch has to improve upon and be more confident in, I think, if he is going to stuff those gaps. And then the same thing with Jalen Smith, who's better with LVE, Leighton Vander Esch, on the field. Those two together, I think, provide a duo that can stop the run, but with guys like Keona Neal, Micah Parsons, and Jabril Cox added into the fray, that competition is certainly going to see an uptick in the run defense. Okay,
so then where is Parsons? If we got Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, where's Parsons? Because he's going to be on the field.
He will be on the field. He may not be a starter week one. That's kind of my thought process around it. I think it still is going to be Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, but Micah Parsons is going to see a lot of snaps, and especially in a nickel defense, you're going to rotate these guys out. It helps both parties, I think, with the injuries that Leighton Vander Esch has had to deal with. If he's at the Mike spot, then how about Micah Parsons coming in and taking about half those snaps? I think overall this is going to be a good thing for that linebacker room.
So many rookies drafted on the defensive side of the football, and we talk about one of them who's been impressive here the last couple of weeks in off-season drills, and we come back here on the Blitz.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz was brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Tour AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys. Tours are available daily. For details, visit attstadium.com/tours.
Final couple of minutes of the Blitz. We're talking rookies and what we've seen not only this past week, but the last few weeks as the offseason program has continued here at the Star. Let's talk about probably the most controversial draft pick for the Cowboys. And maybe I'll take the probably out of it. It was the most controversial draft pick. Nashawn Wright, third round.
Yeah, it definitely was. This is a guy who really the majority of the NFL and draft experts out there had listed as a 6th round pick. Well, guess what? He was taken in the 3rd at 99 overall, and he has the pressure of being a top 3 round pick on this roster. But ever since he stepped on the field for the Dallas Cowboys, he has showed out. He has been very impressive, and it's been multitude of media members and scouts alike, coaches alike that have commended Nashawn Wright. Even Mike McCarthy mentioned him in his press conference. His 6'4" length is certainly there. You can see that on film. You can see that in practice. But it's the speed, I think, that sets him apart. His ability to be in the right spot at the right time, know this defensive playbook well. It has really bode well for him so far throughout OTAs and minicamp. He's done a really nice job.
All right, and the rookies stick around for another week. We'll stick around for another week. We will have another edition of The Blitz next week. For Kyle Youmans, I'm Bill Jones, and we will see you next time.